A lot of things go into a good NFL meltdown.
Ah! Don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off!
I wish they had things for them to throw.
It's one of those things that you're always looking forward to in a perverse sort of way.
Number 3. Only 2 rushes, 2 weeks.
When the heat is on, meltdowns ensue. But determining the criteria for what constitutes a meltdown can get a little sticky.
Nobody said it was going to be easy now.
Some meltdowns happen every day. And some with a little less regularity.
I'm gonna catch heat stroke. It's too hot out here.
On our list, meltdowns cover a variety of situations gone nuclear. They can happen to a coach.
Oh, you son of a...
See that? That's your IQ, buddy. 0. If you want to crown them, then crown her.
They can happen to a team.
We are in the midst of a meltdown of classic proportion.
That's pee-wee stuff. Such an embarrassment to even be out there doing that.
Or they can even be larger in scope.
That is pitch touchdown on the first play.
I think the Kansas City team is a real top football team. It doesn't compare with the National Football League teams.
The one essential element.
Kiwanuka had him, and then he let him go, and Tom Coughlin goes up to him and says, "What are you thinking?"
Is a complete undoing.
You just feel it collapsing. You see it collapsing. That's what makes a meltdown great.
The number 10 meltdown of all time. Trey Junkin's bad snap.
It was a complete and total melting down, like from an iceberg to a puddle.
We've all suffered a lot of defeats, but I'm not so sure that in my career I've ever been in that kind of shock.
For the first 40 minutes of a 2002 NFC wildcard game, the Giants looked unstoppable.
Looking for 2, Ernest got him for a touchdown!
They were up 38-14 with 20 minutes to go, and you thought, well, this is over.
But the 49ers scored the next 25 points.
Throws for the end zone.
And all of a sudden, the Niners are winning 39-38.
That was an all-time collapse.
You couldn't believe what you were seeing, even when it was happening.
After all that, they get one last chance. 42 yards for the win. Trey bleeping Junkin just puts his name into the history books.
Snap is low. Allen can't get it down. Not Allen can't get it down. He's trying to throw it. He just heaves it downfield. He throws it, and it's incomplete.
Well, welcome to New York, Trey.
And the Giants are going home.
The Giants that year had trouble with snappers all year long.
They went through about 37 long snappers. With 5 days to go before the game, they go get Trey Junkin, who's one of the greatest long snappers in NFL history.
What a story. I mean, he wasn't even playing football.
Trey Junkin was enjoying retirement.
Fossil knew him from some shared time in Arizona.
The very first thing, being a successful long snapper, you really don't want anybody else to know your name.
Trey Junkin had been a snapper for centuries.
He was impeccable. He was almost perfect on every snap.
Junkin nailed his first 10 snaps of the game, but with the Giants' lead whittled to 5 in the fourth quarter, his 11th went astray.
Low snap. Allen gets it down. Line drive kick, and it's no good. Way left. The low snap from Trey Junkin. Allen did all he could to get it down, and Brian never had a chance.
And that's not the snap that wakes me up at night. There's only one snap that does that.
Trey Junkin, a 20-year veteran, with 2 poor snaps.
He must have snapped the ball like 2 million times in his career. It was the first one that he really just flubbed completely.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to do this.
To watch him do what he did, I felt so bad for him.
I cost this team a chance to go to the Super Bowl. This is the best team in the NFC.
And I remember afterwards, he was just so devastated.
I'd give anything in the world except my family at this point right now to have stayed retired.
It's a shame because, again, he was in retirement and nobody would have known who he was for the rest of his life.
New York, as much as any other town, always needs, you have to be able to point the finger at somebody.
Don't blame Trey Junkin, okay? Please.
They never should have been in that spot. That game should never have to come down to a last-second field goal for the Giants to win.
You know, everybody looks at that and says, you know, he melted down and he cost the Giants the game. I'm like, Jeremy Shockey dropped the touchdown pass.
Shockey drops it!
You can blame everybody and anybody who wore a uniform, who was on that sideline as a coach that day.
You got to make that snap. And when you don't make that snap, everybody knows it's your fault. So he's the poster child of that loss.
That's what the National Football League is about. When you're asked to make plays, you have to make them. If you don't, you're going to pay the price. And Trey Junkin is a name who will live in Giant infamy.
Coming up.
In every other game, he has it together. Take him to the postseason, and it's Meltdown City.
At the end of the season, he is far from at his best.
Wake me up when he wins a playoff game.
Plenty of quarterbacks have melted like butter in the searing skillet that is the NFL playoffs. In 1981, Brian Sipe threw away the Browns season.
And the Cleveland Browns call the football once too often.
In Super Bowl 15, Ron Jaworski connected on 3 game-changing passes, all to the Raiders' Rod Martin.
Rod Martin once again slams the door in the face of the man they call Jaws.
Stewart got lots of time, steps up, fires down the field.
In the 2001 AFC Championship, 2 interceptions in the last 3 minutes melted Cordell Stewart down to a puddle of tears.
He has just had a horrible day today throwing the football.
The minute Cordell Stewart cried on the sideline, he should have had his NFL Players Association membership card revoked and been thrown out of football forever.
But on our list, a different quarterback gets the game ball for melting down when it matters most.
The number 9 meltdown of all time. Tony Romo after December 1st.
Tony Romo, top 10, meltdown. Yeah, he stunk it up at the end of the season.
In the Cowboys' final game of 2008, Tony Romo delivered an oh no.
They bury him again!
It was the 3rd straight year he ended the season by melting down.
It's a pop fly. This is Tony Romo.
After December 1st, Romo was just 5-10 over a 3-year span.
And the playoff drought will continue.
At the end of the season, he is far from at his best.
Tony Romo, in every other game, has it together, but take him to the postseason, and it's Meltdown City.
A season is down to 1 play.
They got to go to the end zone.
4th and 11 at the Giants' 23.
He's got a little Brett Favre in him. He's a little bit of a gambler, and when you do that, you're going to have some great plays. You are going to have some spectacularly bad ones.
Romo back to throw, has time to the end zone, intercepted by the Giants. This is a disappointment of absolutely colossal proportion.
The Dallas Cowboys are looking for their first postseason win since 1996.
You talk about weird endings. Games don't end that way.
There's the snap, the spot. Romo can't get the spot down.
That Seattle game, what people don't remember is Tony Romo plays a pretty good game playing his first playoff game. Of course, now it's his legacy. I think it's incredibly unfair. If Martin Gramatica even gets a shoulder on the guy who's running at Romo, Romo walks into the end zone.
Did he make a bad play? Yes. Could he even scored on the play? Yes. Your starting quarterback shouldn't be holding your snap to begin with in a playoff game.
It's an extra point, for heaven's sakes. Come on!
I've never seen an ending to a game like that.
What has Tony Romo done to become a media darling? Okay, the snap goes over his head. He runs for a first down against St. Louis.
At the 20, Romo gets away from one man. Left to the 40, to the 50, first down!
Great play. Oh, my goodness. Tony Romo, one of the great starting quarterbacks in the league.
When you quarterback the Cowboys and Jessica Simpson's your girlfriend, you know what? Some people are going to hate you.
You know, I would hate Romo, but he's not hateable. Isn't it interesting? He's not a hateable guy.
I actually like Tony Romo. It's kind of odd. I kind of like his story. Undrafted, rising to the top.
The guy has achieved the American dream in my eyes. I mean, he's a scratch golfer, which is just cool. He's dated Carrie Underwood, Jessica Simpson, and he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
Deep ball, Bryant. Caught it over the corner. Touchdown.
Would you trade spots with him? Probably you would.
I don't think it's fair to label him a choke artist yet. Too many guys have had problems in the playoffs early in their career only to rebound and do something great. All it takes is one. And people will forget about the botched snap, the interception at the end of the Giants game.
Well, we got high hopes.
I think it's early to put Romo in that top 10.
The number 8 meltdown of all time, Mike Vanderchoke kicks him wide.
He did come up small in some big spots.
That wasn't always the case.
The kick is up. It is good.
It's easy to overlook the fact that he was one of the best kickers of his era.
In 2003, he went a combined 96 for 96 on field goals and PATs between the regular season and the playoffs.
Ball down. Vanderjagt's kick is on the way. It is good. It's good. He's got the record.
What he did that year had never been done before. A guy going through an entire season without missing a kick. The problem with Vanderjagt is he ran his mouth too much.
The Colts lost the 2002 wild card game 41-0 to the New York Jets.
End zone wide open. Touchdown.
A few weeks later, Vanderjagt gave an ill-advised interview on Canadian television.
Intercepted. Good night, Irene.
All week before the Jets game, I'm like, 18, we're going to handle it. Me and you, we're going to win this game. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm like, Peyton, come on, show some enthusiasm. You're the quarterback. We need to win this game. And I just don't see it from him. Some guys have it, some guys don't.
Why you would say anything about Peyton Manning when you are just the kicker?
Absolutely absurd. You got to be one of the dumbest human beings in captivity.
That was when Peyton Manning came out and called him the idiot kicker.
We're talking about our idiot kicker who got liquored up and ran his mouth off.
That was how he was characterized, and that was sort of how he was thought of.
It was just one of several sarcastic nicknames.
Money Mike.
Vanderjerk. Vanderchoke. Vandergag.
I like Vanderjackass better, actually.
Before games, he'd be out there warming up, and he'd wear this T-shirt that said Pro Bowl. When you have to wear a T-shirt that says you're a Pro Bowler, you're probably not a Pro Bowler.
That theory gained credibility as Vanderjagt struggled on high-stakes kicks like his overtime attempt during a 2000 playoff game in Miami.
Well, there's a whole lot of pressure in this. It's no good off to the right side. Vanderjagt missed it. The kick never had a chance.
Yeah, he never made the big kick in a big spot.
In 2004, he tried to send a game with the Patriots into overtime with 24 seconds left.
The kick is no good. No good.
The one I remember the most was the Pittsburgh one.
The kick that cemented his spot on our list was his first career playoff do-or-die attempt, a 46-yarder to send the game into overtime.
I thought he was going to make it. It's in the dome. It's at home.
Vanderjagt's kick is on its way. That kick is long enough, high enough, and it's no good.
He missed it.
It's no good.
Oh, man.
Off the side of his foot, it looked like one of my golf shots.
And that thing went,
Well, that never had a chance. Never even got close.
Scott Norwood gets talked about, but at least you could say, man, it only missed by an inch.
In the air. It's got the distance. It is.
I don't think that's choke. I think he just missed it.
Of course it's okay to call him a choke artist. How can you not?
That was a long kick. 46 yards, that's a long kick.
You're paid for one thing, is to kick the ball through the uprights when the game is on the line.
The Colts ready to celebrate if he makes it.
He missed it bad.
He missed it badly.
Game is on the line, postseason, move on or go home. Do you make the kick? And if you don't...
Coming up,
It didn't look like there was any team capable of catching them.
They had to win one stinking game. One game.
Cost the coach's job.
It's hard to believe, but the greatest collapse in history didn't make our list. The Houston Oilers built a 35-3 third-quarter lead during a 1992 wild-card game with the Buffalo Bills.
It just seemed like there was no chance for the Bills to come back, especially with a backup quarterback.
But Frank Reich led the Bills to 5 unanswered touchdowns.
The Bills have scored to take the lead.
That's one of the greatest collapses of all time.
But the meltdown that made our list wasn't a defensive one.
the number 7 meltdown of all time, the Cardinals and their coach losing.
You look at that game and you say, how does that happen? A complete meltdown.
In Week 6 of 2006, Cardinals rookie quarterback Matt Leinart made his second start and made a big impression on the 5-0 Bears.
When I watched that game, I was shocked. I was literally shocked.
We thought that this kid's the real deal. He looks great against the best defense in the league.
Hey, let's go, baby. They can't stop us.
The next thing you know, they're up 14-0.
They were dictating to the Chicago Bears.
And it kept happening, and it kept happening. 20-0 lead at halftime. It did not feel good.
All day. All day.
Rex Grossman was awful. 4 picks, 2 fumbles.
Grossman guns it deep. Intercepted by Francisco.
Rex Grossman that day had the worst game of any quarterback in any game going back to 1995. And here's the thing. They won anyway.
They came out in the second half. The team that played the first half left the locker room and another team came in.
In the second half, the Bears are showing a 9-man front. And the Cardinals are still trying to run the football, which doesn't make sense.
Not one pass the entire drive. What does that say?
And I was told afterwards, Denny Green instructed Keith Rowan, then the offensive coordinator, to run the football in the second half. He didn't want Matt Leinart to throw a pick.
If any of 4 things don't happen, it's a successful strategy.
The Cardinals completed their meltdown without giving up a single offensive touchdown.
Picked up on one hop. We got a touchdown, Chicago.
The 2 fumble returns for touchdowns.
Veteran James stuck up the middle by Alfonso Boone. Ball's out, and it's picked up by the Bears. Are you kidding me? Defensive touchdown, number 2.
The punt return for a touchdown.
Do not kick to Devin Henry. What happens? They kick to him. Bingo.
Now runs right to the 20, 25. Look out at midfield. 45, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. You gotta be kidding me.
Despite all that, though, they did have a chance to win the game.
Leinart took him down the field and put him in position to win with 50-something seconds left and a 41-yard field goal attempt.
Racker's kick is up. It has the leg. Racker's kick is no good.
That was one of the most amazing meltdowns I can recall.
Everybody knew the Bears were going to come back and win that game. That was no surprise. But when Denny Green went crazy after that game, it made it one of the best meltdowns of all time.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
Came unglued, didn't he?
That's why we took the damn field.
When he did go over the edge, he didn't hold back. Crown their ass, Dennis Green. Crown their ass.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. For the first time in a very long career as a head coach, I kind of blew my top. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Just one of the classic all-time post-game press conferences.
They are who we thought they were.
For somebody to be who you thought they were, I mean, just thinking about it now.
You think about the catchphrases that are still used today from that press conference.
I know you've already shown it in this segment, but please for me and all other sports fans, show it again.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
I'm glad that game makes this list, and it should make every list.
Thanks, Coach.
The number 6 meltdown of all time. The 2008 Denver Broncos.
When you have a 3-game lead with 3 to play, you better close the door.
They had to win one stinking game. One game.
It didn't look like there was any team capable of catching them because everyone else in the division was playing so poorly. The Chargers came out of nowhere.
The Chargers have a pulse.
The Broncos blowing it was obviously a tremendous meltdown.
Yeah, it's got to rank up there.
The 2008 Broncos went 8-5 through their first 13 games. They needed just one win in their final 3 to clinch the AFC West title.
We talked about it before. You got to play your best football in what? November and December.
That team was falling apart long before it hit the skids. This is a team that just had enormous defensive issues.
The Patriots are just slamming the Broncos from pillar to post.
Mike Shanahan, his defense was giving up 28 points a game on the average.
Untouched into the end zone.
What did the Broncos not have? A great defense. And in December, it's the great defense that gets you through.
In the Broncos' first chance to clinch the AFC West, they gave up 30 points at the Panthers.
The pressure is suffocating in Denver if you're a Bronco.
In their second shot to seal the deal, they allowed 30 points to the Bills at home.
So it'll come down to next week. The Broncos travel to San Diego. Whoever wins is in, and whoever loses is going home.
They'd had some blowout games, and of course it completely came unraveled in that last game against the Chargers when they gave up 52 points.
In the season finale, Denver became the first team to squander a 3-game division lead with 3 to play.
They got blown out of the building. Just completely collapsed.
Keep that going! Touchdown!
Yeah, they had them on their home field, but Denver didn't show up for the game. I think they're still on the bus.
Cutler was really bad in that game. His head was just dialing 911 from the first snap of the game to the end.
If there was ever a picture of a 4-year-old kid swallowing castor oil, that's what Dave Cutler looks like right now.
Cutler, keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut. Because Rivers has got your number right now, pal.
San Diego has stolen this division.
I mean, yeah, it's a big meltdown. That's why Mike Shanahan is unemployed this year.
Nothing he could do would ever get him fired. Well, this got him fired.
When you get the coach fired, yeah, you must have melted down, especially one that had the track record of Shanahan.
It was the fallout from the meltdown, I think, that made it such a big deal.
If they had made the playoffs, their coach would still be there. Their quarterback would still be there.
What in the world just happened?
Clearly, it's a team that you'll always remember for unraveling.
Light the ignition, man! Coming up.
When you look at some of the teams that he had and what they didn't do, he's a choker, all right.
Before we continue our countdown, let's recap the list so far.
Number 10, Trey Junkin snaps the Giants into a cruel reality.
I cost this team a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Number 9, Tony Romo cools off with the weather.
Intercepted by the Giants!
Wake me up when he wins a playoff game.
Number 8, Mike Vanderjagt struggles in the clutch.
Boy, that never had a chance. Never even got close. And the thing went.
Number 7, the Cardinals disintegrate on Monday night.
We got a touchdown, Chicago!
The Bears are who we thought they were.
Number 6, the Broncos blow the division in 3 easy steps.
It didn't look like there was any team capable of catching them.
The number 5 meltdown of all time. Marty Schottenheimer in the playoffs.
I think Schottenheimer gets kind of an unfair rap for a lot of his postseason failures.
It is totally fair to say Marty Schottenheimer is one of the biggest chokers in the history of the National Football League.
We're talking about a guy who won more games in the regular season than all but 4 coaches in NFL history.
George Halas, Curly Lambeau, Tom Landry, Don Shula, and then also in that group is Marty Schottenheimer, 5-13 in the postseason.
Marty's first playoff game as a head coach also featured his first postseason meltdown.
At the Dolphins, we were up 21-3 and had a chance to just bury them.
With a Brown offense that looked so smooth early on, simply melted in the fourth quarter.
In 1986, a future Hall of Famer drove Marty bonkers.
The Broncos are 98 yards away from where they need to go.
98 yards, the drive. 98 yards in your own stadium, and your fans going crazy. There has to be some bad luck involved there with Marty. I'm not going to put it all on his shoulders.
98.5-yard drive.
Circumstances sometimes beyond his control have just not gotten him the big prize.
Hands up to Biner on a draw. Biner inside the 5 to the 4 to the 3 to the 2. He fumbles the football and the Broncos have it.
The Marty Schottenheimers of the world. You lose one big game and you start thinking about it.
Here's the snap. The kick is up. It is going to fall short.
You lose another one.
The mighty Chiefs have fallen.
Then all of a sudden your hands start automatically going to your throat and it's all over.
What a bad break for the Chiefs.
You have to have a little luck, and if it wasn't for bad luck, Marty wouldn't have any at all.
Michael Stewart tried to tear that ball out of there. The Dolphins say, hey, get out of it. He's got it.
He robbed Marcus Allen.
If I would give you one criticism of Marty is that at times he plays it too conservatively offensively. In close games, that can come back to haunt you.
42 seconds left to go in the game.
A lot of defensive-minded head coaches get into playoff games and they lose games to teams they're better than overall because they don't score enough points.
Wide to the left, no good. Glenn Elliott misses his third field goal of the game.
And the games come down to one or two plays in the third or fourth quarter.
This is 4th and 2.5. This is the game.
And if those plays don't go your way, you can lose those games.
Knocked away! Incomplete!
If you're doing the same old thing, that's not going to inspire anybody, except to lose.
To win it in overtime for the Chargers. Kick on the way, towards the uprights. It is no good!
As coach of the Chargers, Marty's postseason woes continued. None more devastating than in 2006.
This is our day!
They go 14-2. San Diego was better than the Pats. I know Brady was there. He had no weapons. McCreary has the interception and he fumbles. Troy Brown makes one of the great plays of all time.
Fumbled on the interception. The Patriots have it.
That loss to them a couple years ago was as bad as it gets.
You want to get to the playoffs? You want Marty Schottenheimer as your coach. You want to win in the playoffs? You don't want Marty as your coach.
You can't get around the fact that his team couldn't win the big game. Marty Schottenheimer belongs on a list of guys who couldn't get it done in the big spot. If that defines Meltdown, then he's well placed on your list.
The number 4 meltdown of all time. Brett Favre throws it to the wrong teams at the wrong time.
Brett Favre stunk in the big games at the end and threw way too many interceptions.
That was not always the case, of course. Favre built a Hall of Fame resume that included 2 Super Bowl appearances, all the while entertaining football fans like few could.
Look at Brett Favre coming off the field. He is so happy.
He played the game with such joy and enthusiasm.
There's nobody that I've ever seen who has displayed the love of football any better than Brett Favre.
But that fun-loving style often went hand in hand with a careless one, even in the playoffs.
Intercepted by the linebacker, Tommy Pollard.
For an all-time great, he's had some terrible postseason performances.
None worse than in the 2001 divisional playoff with the Rams.
Quick toss right to the intercepted Aeneas Williams, 25-20, 15-10, 5 touchdown.
The 6-pick game against the Rams is the one that really stands out the most.
Brett Favre will force balls into coverage.
Yes, he does.
Just throwing it everywhere, stupid passes.
Favre tries to force it in down the field.
Bad just got worse for the Green Bay Packers.
That game just snowballed.
Brett pops it over the middle off the hand of Green, intercepted again. Aeneas Williams left sidelines, 10-5, touchdown. Unbelievable.
When did Brett Favre not throw 6 picks?
Well, in a 2003 divisional playoff with the Eagles, instead he threw one doozy in overtime.
He is firing deep. Ryan Dawkins intercepted.
That was just a jaw dropper. From the moment the ball left his hand, it had no chance.
Oh, my goodness.
Brian Dawkins has probably never had an easier interception in his life.
You live by the gunslinger, you die by the gunslinger.
In the 2007 NFC Championship game, Favre's team died by him again, as he became the only quarterback ever to throw an overtime interception in 2 playoff games.
Corey Webster got the pick.
The Giants thought in that game that if you gave him enough time, there would be a moment where they could step in front of one in a key spot.
It's unfortunate that was his last throw as a Packer.
Brett didn't get enough on that ball to get it over him.
I gotta believe the 2007 championship game is going to make him ill for decades to come.
He made more stupid plays, more bonehead plays than any great quarterback that I have ever seen in my life.
He's not the NFL's all-time interception leader for nothing.
Favre drills the right side of the ball, tipped and intercepted. Yet another interception.
As a person who loved watching Brett Favre play, you can almost hold none of it against him.
The meltdowns are going to come with successes. You can't separate the two.
What a throw by Brett Favre.
Brett Favre made a lot more of those throws successfully than he missed, which is why he's a great quarterback.
So many people related to the way Brett Favre played. He probably got a little bit more of a benefit of doubt than he should have.
Oh, you talk about improvisation.
If it was a young quarterback doing the kind of things that Brett has done over the last 5 or 6 years,
people will be killing him. But because he's the anointed Brett Favre, everybody looks the other way. Let's get real here.
Coming up.
It's amazing sometimes how one play can turn a season. That team, after that, did not win another game.
It's painful to even think about this.
One of the worst meltdowns of all time.
Sometimes even a hot start to the season can't keep a team from melting like wax.
I've never been involved in a game where I saw so many guys puking, so let's go do it.
In 2003, the Vikings started 6-0, but lost 7 of their next 10 and failed to make the playoffs.
There are members of the Minnesota Vikings grieving all over the field.
In 1994, the Eagles soared to a 7-2 start.
Way to go! You gotta play like champion!
But lost out to finish 7-9.
It all collapsed.
Rich Kotite was fired by the Eagles for that collapse, but later hired by the team with the number 3 meltdown on our list.
The number 3 meltdown of all time. The 1994 Jets.
Tell us about the 94 Jets.
Where do I start?
Let's get this baby started all right!
In 1994, the Jets overcame a 2-3 start by winning 4 of their next 6 games. Heading into Week 13, they could smell blood in the waters of the AFC East.
The wound is open. We're about to commit surgery.
Jets are 6-5. Late November game against the Dolphins. If they win this game, they have a share of first place in December.
The Jets were up. They're up. It's painful to even think about this. They're up 24-6 in that game.
And the Jets have opened up a lead.
All of a sudden, it's just an utter collapse. Marino goes off in the fourth quarter.
Jets trying to hold on to this one and try to grab a share of first place.
But again, nothing's safe with Dan Marino on the other sideline.
Game comes down to the final seconds. And Marino does the famous clock play.
I believe Marino is saying I'm going to spike it with 32, 31, 30 seconds to go.
Marino takes the snap from center. He's looking. He's running.
It was jubilation on our side. It was ecstasy. And to look on the other side, it was devastation.
This place is stunned. Rightfully so.
You mentioned fake Spike and Dan Marino, and Jet fans, it just sends a chill down their spine.
I love this fake Spike game. I play it every day. Jet fans started with the Dolphin fans. They're always needling us. Oh, you're a Dolphin fan. Okay, whatever. You're going to be moving to Florida in 10 years anyway, so fake Spike game was the greatest.
Everyone likes to talk so much about the fake Spike, but the amazing thing, that team, after that, did not win another game. That was the amazing thing. I mean, that team couldn't do anything right after that game. It was an incredible meltdown.
The Jets lost their next 4 games after the fake Spike to finish 6-10.
I'm tired of it. Change it. Clean house. We've been on money for years. Clean house. About time you helped us out.
The meltdown continued into the offseason with the firing of head coach Pete Carroll.
After Pete Carroll was with the Jets, if you had told any Jets fan that Pete Carroll would eventually build a dynasty in college football, they would have laughed you out of the room.
Pete Carroll deserved more than 1 year, and to get Richie Kotite in there.
My philosophy is really very simple. I'm not a genius.
Pete Carroll's out, Rich Kotite's in, and the Jets are heading for 2 years of just total misery.
Line up for the national anthem. Low to the high. Low to the high.
The New York Jets, from the Spike game until Richie Kotite was fired, went 4-36 over 2 seasons and 4 games.
I'd say the fans got their money's worth.
Arguably one of the worst coaches in the modern era.
It's wrong.
Sorry, Coach, but we think we got it right by making the 94 Jets the number 3 meltdown of all time.
That big spike was just like a spike through the heart for them. It took them literally 2.5 years to recover from that.
Up next, there was excitement.
You gotta love this, don't you?
How cool is this?
and there was a title on the line.
Showtime, baby.
But only one side showed up.
There's been no explanation at all.
Sometimes a meltdown takes only a single play. In 2006, the Giants were a sack away from finishing off the Titans.
Kiwanuka had him, and then he let him go, and Tom Coughlin goes up to him and says, "What are you thinking?"
Once in a while, a meltdown spans a number of years. The Dallas Cowboys of the late 60s lost championship after championship after championship and earned the nickname next year's champions. But it was a different multi-year phenomenon that earned a spot on our list.
The number 2 meltdown of all time. The AFC in the Super Bowl.
13 games in a row is probably too long a streak.
It was such domination by the NFC.
Back to back. Number 1.
Year after year after year.
Cowboys back to back.
From the time the Raiders won Super Bowl 18 in 1984 until the Broncos won Super Bowl 32 in 1998,
This one's for John.
the AFC lost 13 straight Super Bowls and lost them big by an average of 3 touchdowns.
What a terrible disappointment for the Bills.
Chances are, by the second half, there'd be plenty of time to go to the bathroom.
Super Bowl 19 is in the record books.
The AFC just kept getting their asses kicked.
Kick their ass.
It was, for a while in the 80s, a different team every year. It wasn't just the Niners.
This defense has been incredible.
The Bears, they go 1 year and win big.
William Perry has scored.
Giants go 1 year, win big.
I'm going to go to Disney World.
Redskins go next year, win big.
Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
I feel for the networks there because you've got the biggest audience you're going to have all year, and you got a frickin' blowout on your hands, so what do you do?
9 minutes and 44 seconds left to play in the third quarter.
Oh, let's find out what Don Beebe does in his personal life.
Beebe said he received hundreds of pieces of mail after last year's Super Bowl.
Let's get an update on the Bud Bowl. Whatever works.
There is an awful lot of football yet to be played here.
They started putting more emphasis on halftime shows and these big elaborate productions. Bruce Springsteen appeared last year. That's a descendant of the AFC losing to the NFC.
Washington's first offensive play of the second quarter ignited the most stunning 15 minutes of football in NFL history.
The AFC's losing streak ranks number 2 on our list, thanks to some of the biggest meltdowns in Super Bowl history.
Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
Like the second quarter of Super Bowl 22, when Denver allowed 5 touchdowns.
Neil O'Donnell throws 2 bad passes to Larry Brown.
O'Donnell threw it right to him. There was no receiver out there.
I don't know if there was a miscommunication there or what.
The Giants beat the Bills, or the Bills beat themselves, really.
Spot in the air. It's got the distance. It is no good. They went 92 yards in 11 plays.
It's just totally cyclical.
I truly believe in cycles. In the 70s, the Steelers and the Raiders and the Dolphins were the best organizations, and they had to beat each other to get to the Super Bowl.
Number 1.
Then you got into the 80s, and the 49ers with Bill Walsh.
They are the world champions.
And the Redskins with Joe Gibbs.
We are seeing a virtuoso performance.
And the Giants with Bill Parcells were the model franchises, so they would push each other to these greatest heights.
The 49ers have brought the quality of football in the NFL to really a new level.
You never think about that when you're playing.
46A boss, on two, right?
All you think about is beating the other team. The only time I ever thought about AFC, NFC was in the Pro Bowl, because if we won, we got more money. So let's go AFC.
Coming up.
That was a classic meltdown.
It's timeless. It's like Caddyshack.
That is the greatest of all time, and it will never, ever be topped.
Drip by drip, we've shrunk our way down to the bottom of the countdown. But before we reveal our number 1 meltdown of all time, let's review our list so far.
Number 10, Trey Junkin can't snap out of it.
2 poor snaps.
I felt so bad for him.
I cost this team a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Number 9, Tony Romo gets no late season in love.
You got the blonde, and you got the star on your helmet. You know what? Some people are going to hate you.
Number 8, Mike Vanderjagt slices into the rough.
Vanderjagt's kick is on its way. That kick is long enough. It's all good. He missed it.
Off the side of his foot, it looked like one of my golf shots.
Number 7, the Cards don't know what hit them, but they do know who.
They are who we thought they were.
Then he had a bit of a meltdown.
Number 6, the Broncos can't corral the AFC West.
They had to win one stinking game. It's a big meltdown. That's why Mike Shanahan is unemployed.
Number 5, Marty's postseason woes.
The results are in, and the results are that Marty can't win the big one.
Number 4, Brett Favre shucking it up.
Brian Dawkins interception.
You live by the gunslinger, you die by the gunslinger.
Number 3, Marino Magic melts down the Jets.
That fake spike was just like a spike through the heart for them.
It's painful to even think about this.
Number 2, the NFC has the AFC's number 13 times in a row.
The AFC just kept getting their asses kicked.
And now, the number 1 meltdown of all time. Jim Mora's playoffs.
Number 1 meltdown of all time is playoffs. Playoffs? It's got to be.
Playoffs? Playoffs? Playoffs?
Playoffs?
Playoffs?
Playoffs?
You kidding me? Playoffs?
Are you kidding me? Playoffs?
During the Renaissance, oil painting reached its apotheosis, and I think the Monday press conference, peaked with playoffs.
Playoffs?
Whenever you hear the word playoffs, you automatically think back to Jim Mora. Automatically.
You're out at the bar having a few drinks with your buddies, and somebody sooner or later is going to, playoffs? Are you kidding me? Playoffs?
I bet you a poll of people couldn't tell you what year it was, what game it was after. All they remember is playoffs.
Playoffs?
I walk down the street occasionally, and some guy's walking this way, and he'll kind of look at me, and then we'll pass, and all of a sudden I'll hear, playoffs?
Playoffs?
There's something about Jim Mora's voice which is sort of high-pitched, and it kind of hits your ear a certain way.
Playoffs?
When you hear somebody who's whiny and angry, it's funny.
Playoffs?
That's usually what I sound like when I'm yelling at my kid.
Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
The eyebrow is up, the body language is like, he's completely taken aback. Playoffs?
The visual complements the audio better than any other meltdown we've ever seen.
I'm very impressed with what a great football player this guy is. And get that on TV.
Long before he uttered playoffs, Jim Mora was known for his entertaining press conferences.
The NFL needs personalities. You need guys that can provide those sound bites, that can make people laugh. It makes the game colorful. Without Jim Mora, without guys like that around, it does get just a little less interesting.
We all love Jim Mora. He said what we all have thought about one time or another.
That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful.
He was very sincere. It was not contrived.
Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that.
I don't think that Jim Mora knew what was going to come out of his mouth. He was just being himself, and that's what made it so wonderful.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. Please, not now, okay?
If that's all people remember about Jim Mora, post-game explosions, then that's really unfortunate because he was a good football coach.
I worry that people are going to always think about Jim Mora, saying some crazy thing after a game or something like that. But hey, what can I do about it? It's my own fault.
Jim Mora remains the winningest coach in the history of the Saints and once took the Colts from worst to first. But to many, he's remembered for one simple word.
Playoffs?
As much as he did in the NFL, Jim Mora is going to be known for that little outburst.
Playoffs?
It's something you don't expect to hear from a football coach. I think comedy is at the essence of it all.
Playoffs? It's timeless. It's like Caddyshack.
That was a classic meltdown.
Playoffs?
Love it.
Playoffs?
Every time I see it.
Playoffs?
I don't see it enough.
Playoffs?
I want to see it every day.
Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
That is the greatest of all time, and it will never, ever be topped.
You kidding me? Playoffs?